Senator Schiff, where is the evidence? The hearing room of the Senate Intelligence Committee fell into a profound and heavy silence. Tulsi Gabbard, a combat veteran and former Democrat, now appearing as President Trump's nominee for the position of Director of National Intelligence, sat at the witness table with a composed military demeanor, folders stacked meticulously in front of her in readiness. Adam Schiff, the California senator and former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, the man who had spearheaded 2 impeachment proceedings against Trump, froze in the midst of shuffling his papers. "I am sorry," he stammered, momentarily caught off guard. "The evidence regarding Russia collusion. You declared for 3 years that you possessed proof, direct evidence that was more than merely circumstantial. You stated this on CNN, on MSNBC, and under oath. So where is it? This was not how the proceedings were intended to unfold. This was supposed to be Tulsi's confirmation hearing, where Schiff was expected to be the inquisitor, grilling her about loyalty, judgment, and her controversial statements regarding Russia, following the standard Democratic playbook. Yet, instead, she had effectively placed him on trial. Schiff attempted to regain his footing, asserting, "I do not think that is relevant to your nomination," but she countered immediately, "It is absolutely relevant." Tulsi leaned forward, not with aggression, but with a calm, military precision, stating, "You are questioning my fitness to lead America's intelligence agencies, yet you have misrepresented intelligence for years. So, before you question me, Senator, let us discuss your record." She reached out and produced a thick folder. Her aide projected documents onto the screens, flanking the committee room, as she declared, "I have your television appearances, your statements made under oath, the classified transcripts from your own committee, the Mueller report, and the Durham report, all of it demonstrating that you spoke untruths." Schiff's face flushed a visible red as the gallery, packed with veterans, intelligence professionals, conservative activists, and media personnel, erupted in hushed whispers while camera shutters clicked frantically. "And I am going through it," Tulsi continued. "Every falsehood, every leak, every abuse of power. Because if you are going to sit there and question whether I deserve this job, the American people deserve to know whether you deserve yours." The atmosphere in the room shifted palpably. You could feel that this was no longer a confirmation hearing, but something else entirely, something the establishment had not prepared for, a systematic dismantling. What transpired next would effectively dismantle Adam Schiff's career. As the combat veteran who had left the Democratic Party after witnessing its internal corruption, who had endorsed Trump after years of watching Democrats weaponize the government, was about to systematically expose the most deceptive figure in Congress. She was prepared to expose the Russia hoax he had pushed for 3 years, the flawed FISA warrant he had defended, the classified intelligence he had leaked to CNN for political gain, and the Hunter Biden laptop he had dismissed as Russian disinformation. Knowing it was authentic, along with the impeachment fabrications, all of it was documented and undeniable, with his own words serving to condemn him, and Schiff, sitting on that committee dais in his expensive suit, with his carefully rehearsed gotcha questions, realized too late that he had walked into an ambush. Tulsi picked up the first folder and said, "Let us start with Russia, and the evidence you never possessed. Drop a reaction. If you remember when Schiff said, 'I have direct evidence of collusion.'" In the Senate Hart Building, Room 219, the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence was holding Tulsi Gabbard's confirmation hearing for the Director of National Intelligence, the position that would place her in charge of all 18 U.S. intelligence agencies, including the CIA, NSA, FBI, and DIA. Adam Schiff sat on the committee as a newly elected California senator, the former House Intelligence Committee chairman, the man who had spent 4 years investigating Trump, and who had leaked constantly, becoming the face of the resistance to Trump. He was supposed to approve or reject her nomination in standard Senate procedure, but the gallery was packed beyond capacity with veterans in dress uniforms. Supporting Tulsi were intelligence community professionals curious about the nominee, conservative activists who had waited years for this moment, and media from every outlet with cameras positioned for maximum coverage. The Republican chairman called the hearing to order, stating, "The committee will come to order. We are here today to consider the nomination of Lieutenant Colonel Tulsi Gabbard to serve as Director of National Intelligence. We will begin with opening statements from the nominee, and then proceed to questions from committee members." Tulsi's opening statement was characteristically brief, as she stood with evident military bearing, saying, "Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for this opportunity. I deployed to Iraq with the Hawaii Army National Guard, and I have held top-secret security clearances for over 20 years." She continued, "I understand how intelligence works, how it should be utilized, and how it has been abused. If confirmed, I will end the weaponization of our intelligence agencies against the American people. That is my commitment." It was direct, devoid of political speak or bureaucratic hedging, the statement of someone who had seen combat and did not waste words. And as she sat, the cameras focused on the committee members. Schiff leaned into his microphone with the confident smile of someone who had done this hundreds of times, grilled witnesses, controlled narratives, and leaked selective information to friendly journalists afterward. This was his domain, but today would be different. As he began, Lieutenant Colonel Gabbard, using her military rank with a hint of condescension, "You have made some concerning statements over the years. You have questioned whether Bashar al-Assad used chemical weapons against his own people. You have opposed sanctions against Russia, and you have been called by some intelligence professionals a Russian asset." This was the standard Democratic attack. Question loyalty, make it about her associations rather than her qualifications. Before this committee can approve you to run our nation's intelligence apparatus, I think the American people deserve answers about your judgment regarding Senator Tulsi. Cut him off, not raising her voice because she did not need to. "Before you question my judgment, let us talk about yours." Schiff blinked, confused. "Excuse me? Your judgment? Your statements? Your claims specifically about Russia and President Trump, and the evidence you said you had?" she said, opening the folder in front of her to reveal documents, official transcripts, and video compilations ready to play. "Because I have questions about your record. And Senator," she looked directly at him, "you are under oath, correct?" The chairman, slightly confused by the turn of events, nodded and confirmed. "All witnesses and committee members give statements under penalty of perjury." Yes. Schiff realized too late what was happening. His prepared questions suddenly felt inadequate, and his talking points about her concerning statements would not work if she was asking the questions. "You spent 3 years," Tulsi began, pulling out printed transcripts, telling the American people you had evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. "Let me be specific." Her aide projected the first clip, and Schiff's own face appeared on the screens from CNN in March 2017, his voice filling the room. "I can tell you that the case is more than circumstantial. There is direct evidence." The clip ended, and Tulsi looked at him stating, "March 2017 on CNN. You said you had more than circumstantial evidence. You said there was direct evidence. Do you remember saying that?" Schiff shifted uncomfortably, mentioning the Mueller investigation, but she pressed, "I asked if you remember saying that, yes or no." "Context is important," he tried, but she insisted, "Yes or no, Senator. Did you say that?" After a pause, Schiff looked at his notes, at his lawyers seated behind him, and at the other committee members before answering, Yes. Thank you, Tulsi interrupted, pulling out another document. May 2017 on MSNBC. Quote, "The evidence is clear. There was collusion." December 2017 on ABC News. Quote, "I have seen direct evidence of collusion. Shall I continue?" Schiff tried to deflect, saying, "The Mueller report documented numerous contacts between," but Tulsi interjected, "The Mueller report found no collusion. That is what it found." Quote, from page 1, volume 1, "The investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities." She asked, "You have read the Mueller report, correct?" "Of course. But collusion is not a legal term," he replied. "You did not say potential collusion. You did not say suspicious contacts. You said evidence. You said you had seen it. You said it was direct. You said it was clear. Where is that evidence?" Schiff stammered, trying various deflections. "Well, I think if you look at the totality, Senator, this is a simple question," she stated firmly. "You told America you had evidence, direct evidence, more than circumstantial evidence, evidence you had personally seen. Where is it?" The room was completely silent, as every camera zoomed in on Schiff's face, watching him squirm, watching him realize that his standard pivot and deflect strategy was not going to work because Tulsi was not a cable news host who would let him filibuster. She was a combat veteran with a stack of evidence and no patience for nonsense. "I think we are getting off track," Schiff tried, but she corrected him. "We are exactly on track. You are questioning my fitness for intelligence work, but you lied about intelligence for years, so let us go through it systematically. Every lie, starting with Russia." She pulled out another folder, much thicker this time. "I have classified transcripts from your own committee, witnesses who testified under oath during your investigation. 53 witnesses, 0. Not one provided evidence of Trump-Russia collusion, but you went on television anyway and said you had proof." "That is not accurate," he protested. "It is exactly accurate, and I am going to prove it with your own committee's transcripts, with reports you had access to, with evidence you deliberately ignored while lying to the American people." Schiff looked at his lawyer. His prepared questions lay on the table, useless. The room had shifted completely. Tulsi Gabbard was not a witness defending herself. She was a prosecutor presenting a case, and Adam Schiff was the defendant. "Let us begin," Tulsi said, opening the thick folder. Tulsi's aide played a video compilation on the screens, showing Adam Schiff's face in multiple appearances on CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, all the networks, all saying the same thing. March 2017 on CNN. "The evidence is more than circumstantial." March 2017 on MSNBC. "I have seen evidence that is not circumstantial and is very much worthy of investigation." May 2017 on CNN again. "I cannot go into the particulars, but there is more than circumstantial evidence." Now, December 2017 on ABC. "There is already, in my view, ample evidence in the public domain on the issue of collusion." March 2019, weeks before the Mueller report. "I think there is plenty of evidence of collusion or conspiracy in plain sight." The video ended with Schiff's own words hanging in the air. 23 separate television appearances over 3 years. All claiming he had evidence, all claiming it was strong, all claiming Americans should believe him because he was chairman of the House Intelligence Committee and had access to classified information. "You said that," Tulsi stated. "Simple fact. Multiple times on national television for 3 years. You told America you had evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. direct evidence, ample evidence, evidence beyond circumstantial. As the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, you had access to all classified information. So I will ask again, where is the evidence? Schiff tried a different approach. The Mueller report documented 140 contacts between Trump associates and Russian-linked individuals. Contacts are not collusion, she retorted. Having meetings is not conspiracy. The Mueller report spent 2 years investigating, used the full force of the FBI, interviewed hundreds of witnesses, issued thousands of subpoenas, and concluded, quote, "The investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government. That is the conclusion. No conspiracy, no coordination, no collusion. You have read that conclusion, correct?" "I have. But, and yet you kept going on television claiming there was evidence, even after Mueller found none?" Tulsi said, pulling out declassified documents, a thick stack of official transcripts. "Let me help refresh your memory about what you actually knew. These are declassified transcripts from House Intelligence Committee interviews conducted in 2017 and 2018. Interviews you oversaw as chairman, witnesses testifying under oath in classified sessions." She read from the first transcript. Ambassador Kurt Volker testified November 2019. Question: Did you witness or have any other evidence of collusion, conspiracy, coordination between Donald Trump and Russian government officials? Answer: No, I did not. Next transcript. Former CIA Director John Brennan, May 2017. Right after Schiff went on CNN claiming evidence. Question: Do you have evidence of collusion, conspiracy, or coordination? Answer: I do not know if I would characterize it as collusion. Another, James Clapper, former Director of National Intelligence, July 2017. Question: Do you have evidence of collusion? Answer: I never saw any direct evidence of political collusion. Another, Samantha Power, former UN ambassador under Obama, October 2017. Question: Did you have intelligence or evidence showing collusion? Answer: I am not in possession of anything. I am not in possession and did not read or absorb information that came from out of the intelligence community. Tulsi looked up from the transcripts. 53 witnesses testified before your committee in closed sessions under oath, and not one, not a single witness provided evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. Obama administration officials, intelligence community leaders, campaign associates, 53 people, zero evidence. You knew this. You were there for the testimony. You read the transcripts, and you went on CNN and MSNBC anyway, and lied. Schiff's face was red now, visible even to those in the back of the gallery. I stand by my statements at the time based on the information. Schiff began, but Tulsi interrupted. Your statements were lies, documented, deliberate lies. You had access to classified testimony, proving there was no evidence, yet you went on television claiming you had evidence. That is not a mistake? That is not based on information available? That is lying? She declared, pulling out the Mueller report and holding it up, Volume 1 clearly visible. April 2019, Mueller report released, quote, The investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government. Clear statement. No collusion, no conspiracy. What did you do after that came out? Another video clip played showing Schiff on CNN in April 2019, days after the Mueller report. I think there is plenty of evidence of collusion. Whether it rises to proof beyond reasonable doubt of conspiracy is a different question. The clip ended, and Tulsi looked at him. You kept lying even after Mueller proved there was no collusion. You went on television and said there was plenty of evidence. Why? The report outlined significant contacts, Schiff argued. The report said no collusion. You said there was collusion, she countered. The report said they could not establish conspiracy. You said you had evidence of conspiracy. Those are opposite conclusions. Why did you keep lying? Schiff had no good answer and tried multiple deflections. I think if you look at the broader context, the Trump campaign's openness to Russian help, the pattern of conduct. But Tulsi was not letting him filibuster. She cut through each deflection with the same question. Where is the evidence you claim to have? She pulled out one more document. Special Counsel John Durham, May 2023. After 4 years investigating the origins of the Russia investigation. His conclusion? The FBI investigation was opened without appropriate predication. That means without evidence, without reason, based on unverified political opposition research, and he specifically noted, I am reading from page 289. Certain officials had access to intelligence that contradicted public statements. That is you, Adam. He is talking about you. She set down the report and looked directly at him. For 3 years you told America you had evidence. Evidence you had seen personally. Evidence that was direct and clear. You never had it. The witnesses in your own committee told you there was no evidence. Mueller spent 2 years and found no evidence. Durham confirmed the whole investigation was started without evidence. You lied repeatedly on television and under oath to the American people for political purposes. The gallery erupted in murmurs, veterans shaking their heads, intelligence professionals stunned at the brazenness, media frantically typing. So I will ask one final time, Tulsi said. Where is the evidence? And if there never was any, and we both know there was not, why did you lie to America for 3 years? Schiff had no answer. He sat there, exposed, his decades of experience as a trial lawyer useless against someone who had evidence and no fear. Let us move to your next abuse, Tulsi said, pulling out another folder. Let us talk about the FISA warrant and how you defended surveillance based on evidence you knew was fake. The room leaned forward. This was going to get worse for Schiff. Much worse. Tulsi opened the new folder, and documents spilled out. Official reports heavily redacted, but clearly stamped with classification markings that had been downgraded for release. Senator Schiff, you are familiar with FISA warrants, correct? Of course, he replied. As chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, you reviewed the FISA application against Carter Page, the warrant used to surveil the Trump campaign, correct? I reviewed materials related to, yes or no? Did you review the Carter Page FISA warrant? Yes, he admitted. And you defended that warrant publicly. You wrote a memo defending the FBI's handling of it, correct? Schiff shifted uncomfortably. I released a memo providing context that the Republican memo omitted. You defended the FISA warrant. You said it was properly obtained. You said the FBI acted appropriately. Yes or no? In the memo, I. Yes or no, Senator? Yes. Tulsi pulled out a bound report and held it up, the official seal visible. Inspector General Michael Horowitz, December 2019 report on the Carter Page FISA. He spent 18 months investigating, over 1 million documents reviewed, hundreds of interviews conducted. His conclusion, she opened to a marked page and read aloud, we identified at least 17 significant errors or omissions in the Carter Page FISA applications, and many additional errors in the Woods procedures. These errors and omissions resulted from case agents providing wrong or incomplete information to the Office of Intelligence Attorneys and failing to flag important issues for review. She looked up. 17 significant errors or omissions, all in one warrant application, all pointing in one direction, getting the warrant approved to spy on the Trump campaign. The IG report, called it a complete failure of FBI procedures. You called it properly obtained. Why the difference? Schiff argued. The IG also said there was no political bias. The IG said he found no documentary evidence of bias. That is not the same as saying there was no bias, she corrected. And he found 17 errors, 17 all favoring surveillance, not one error favoring the target. What are the odds of that? She did not wait for an answer, but pulled out another document. Let us talk about what that warrant was based on. The Steele dossier. You know what that is? It is one piece of information among many, he claimed. It was the piece, the primary basis for the warrant. And it was garbage. Unverified garbage paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign. You knew that, did you not? Schiff tried to deflect. Opposition research is not unusual. It is not about being unusual. It is about being true, she asserted. The Steele dossier was fabricated. The FBI knew it was fabricated, and you knew the FBI knew. Let me show you why. A timeline was projected on the screen. September 2016, Christopher Steele provides his dossier to the FBI, claims it is from high-level Russian sources. October 2016, the FBI uses the dossier as the primary basis for the FISA warrant on Carter Page. January 2017, FBI interviews Steele's primary source, Igor Danchenko. Want to know what Danchenko told them? She read from declassified FBI interview notes. Danchenko told the FBI that much of the information in the Steele reports was conversation that he had with friends over beers, and that Steele may have exaggerated the intelligence. He specifically said the most explosive allegations were based on rumor and speculation. Let that sink in. The FBI's own source, Steele's main source, told them in January 2017 that it was bar talk, rumors, speculation, not intelligence, not facts, bar talk. And what did the FBI do? Next slide. The timeline continued. The FBI used the Steele dossier for 3 more FISA renewals, April 2017, June 2017, September 2017, 3 more times after their own source told them it was bar talk. She looked at Schiff. You had access to this information as intelligence chairman. You were briefed on FISA applications. You knew the FBI's source had undercut the dossier's credibility. And yet, in February 2018, when Ranking Member Devin Nunes released a memo documenting FISA abuse, what did you do? She pulled out Schiff's own memo, the one he had written in response, and read from it. FBI and DOJ officials did not abuse the FISA process and did not omit material information. The FBI's investigation was properly predicated and executed. She set it down. You wrote that the FBI did not abuse FISA and did not omit material information, but the IG report found 17 omissions. You wrote that sources were reliable, but the FBI's own interview showed the main source said it was bar talk. You had access to the same classified information as Nunes. You knew the dossier was unverified. You knew Danchenko had undercut it, and you defended it anyway. Why? The Nunes memo was a distortion, was it? Let us see. She pulled out both memos side by side. Nunes memo, February 2018, claimed the FBI used the Steele dossier without verifying it. Your response? That is false. IG report, December 2019. FBI used unverified information. Nunes was right. Nunes claimed FBI did not tell the FISA court that the Clinton campaign paid for the dossier. Your response? That is misleading. IG report. FBI failed to disclose political origins. Nunes was right. Nunes claimed FBI continued using the dossier after Steele was terminated as a source. Your response? Missing context. IG report. FBI continued relying on Steele's reporting after he was closed. Nunes was right. She looked up. On every major point, the IG report vindicated the Nunes memo. Everything you called a distortion was true. Everything you defended was false. And you had access to the classified information proving Nunes was right. You lied to protect a fraudulent FISA warrant used to spy on a presidential campaign. Schiff tried one more defense. The FISA process included information beyond. Here is the kicker, Tulsi interrupted, pulling out heavily redacted footnotes from the IG report declassified in January 2020. Footnote 302. Footnote 347. Want to know what they say? She read. The FBI received information that Steele's reporting may have been part of a Russian disinformation campaign. The FBI was specifically warned that Steele's sources might be connected to Russian intelligence services. She looked directly at the camera, then back at Schiff. The FBI was warned the Steele dossier might be Russian disinformation. They used it anyway to investigate Russian interference. The investigation into Russian collusion was based on actual Russian disinformation, and you defended it. You spent 3 years calling Trump a Russian asset. The whole time you were using Russian disinformation to justify spying on him. The irony would be funny if it were not so dangerous. The gallery was murmuring now, and even some of the Democratic staffers looked uncomfortable. The evidence was overwhelming. One more question about FISA, Tulsi said. After the IG report came out, after it proved Nunes right and you wrong, after it showed 17 errors and omissions, did you apologize? Did you admit you were wrong? Did you retract your memo? Schiff muttered. I maintained that. That is a no. You never apologized, never admitted you lied, just moved on to your next investigation. Which brings us to what you did with the information you had access to. How you selectively leaked classified intelligence to the media while hiding evidence that contradicted your narrative. Another folder. Let us talk about leaking. Tulsi pulled out what looked like phone records. Redacted, but with clear patterns visible. Dates, times, call durations. Senator Schiff, as chairman of the Intelligence Committee, you had access to highly classified information. Information that could damage national security if leaked. Information that was legally protected, correct? Obviously. And you understood that leaking classified information is a federal crime punishable by imprisonment, correct? I never improperly disclosed. I did not ask if it was improper. I asked if you understood it is a crime. Yes or no? Yes. Good. Then let me show you a pattern. She projected a timeline on the screens. January 15th, 2018. Tuesday, 10 a.m. House Intelligence Committee receives classified briefing on FBI investigation into Trump campaign. 2 p.m. Committee goes into classified session to discuss findings. 5:47 p.m. You place a 17-minute call to a CNN reporter. 11 p.m. that night, CNN publishes a story containing information from that morning's classified briefing. Sources cited, officials familiar with the matter. She looked at him. Coincidence? Schiff protested. I cannot control what reporters. That is one example. Let me give you more. March 2nd, 2018. Morning classified briefing on Carter Page. FISA. Afternoon you call a New York Times reporter. Next day, the Times publishes a story with FISA details only people in that briefing. Committee members and select staff. May 9th, 2018. Classified briefing on Michael Flynn. That evening calls to 3 different reporters. CNN, NBC, Washington Post. Within 48 hours, all 3 published stories, with Flynn details matching the classified briefing, all citing sources on the Intelligence Committee. She pulled out more records. Over 18 months as chairman, I count 47 instances where classified briefings were followed within hours by your calls to reporters, followed within days by stories containing information from those briefings. 47 times. That is not coincidence. That is a pattern. The gallery was silent. This was more specific than anyone expected. Actual evidence of systematic leaking. Let me show you what those leaks did, Tulsi continued, pulling out a classified damage assessment now declassified for this hearing. This is the CIA's assessment of damage from unauthorized disclosures during 2017 to 2019, the period you chaired the Intelligence Committee. Quote, multiple unauthorized disclosures of sources and methods required changes to collection practices. At least 2 human intelligence sources had to be relocated due to compromised information appearing in U.S. media. Liaison relationships with 2 foreign services were damaged. She looked up. Your leaks did not just violate security clearances. They endangered intelligence sources. They damaged relationships with allied intelligence services. They forced the CIA to change collection methods, making us less able to gather intelligence on threats. People in the field, intelligence officers serving overseas, had to be pulled because information you leaked put them at risk. Schiff countered, I dispute the characterization. You dispute it? It is the CIA's assessment. Career intelligence professionals, not political appointees. Career officers who spent their lives protecting sources and methods. They say your leaks caused damage, but you dispute it? She pulled out another document. Let us talk about a specific leak. July 2017. Donald Trump Jr.'s emails with a Russian lawyer about the Trump Tower meeting. Your committee obtained those emails under subpoena. They were not public. They were part of an ongoing investigation. What happened? Timeline on screen. Again. July 11th, 2017, 9 a.m. Committee receives Trump Jr. Emails. July 11th, 2017, 2 p.m. You call a CNN reporter. July 11th, 2017, 6 p.m. CNN publishes a story about the emails before Trump Jr. could release them himself as scheduled for the next morning. Someone leaked them to CNN. Only people who had them were your committee. Want to know the best part? She pulled up another document. CNN's story that evening specifically said sources on the Democratic side of the Intelligence Committee, not even hiding it was your side. Then, that night, you went on CNN Live, discussed the emails in detail, emails from an ongoing investigation, classified committee business on national television. She played the clip. Schiff on CNN, July 11th, 2017, discussing Trump Jr.'s emails that had been received by the committee that same day, discussing details, discussing implications, all information that was supposed to be confidential. That is not protection of sources and methods, Tulsi said. That is weaponization of classified information for political purposes. You took information obtained through your committee's investigative authority and leaked it to damage your political opponents. But she wasn't done. Here is what is even worse. While you were leaking information that fit your narrative, you were hiding information that contradicted it. Let us talk about Ambassador Volker. New document. October 2019, Kurt Volker, former special envoy to Ukraine, testified before your committee in classified session. Want to know what he said? She read from the transcript. I did not witness any quid pro quo. I did not see any evidence that aid was being withheld in exchange for investigations. I never heard that from President Zelensky or from anyone in the Ukrainian government. That was his testimony under oath in a classified session before your committee. What happened to that testimony? Timeline. October 3rd, 2019, Volker testifies, October 3rd to 4th, 2019, you do 7 television interviews. In every single one, you characterize Volker's testimony as deeply troubling and corroborating concerns about Trump-Ukraine. You never mention that he said no quid pro quo. You never tell America what he actually testified. You spin it to fit your impeachment narrative. The transcript was not released for weeks. During that time, America only knew what you told them about Volker's testimony, and what you told them was misleading. When the transcript finally came out, forced out by Republicans, America learned Volker said no quid pro quo, but by then, impeachment was underway based on false impressions you created. She stacked the evidence. Phone records, timelines, transcripts showing what witnesses really said versus what Schiff claimed they said, media stories matching classified briefings, damage assessments from intelligence agencies. This is the pattern, Senator. Classified information that hurt Trump leaked immediately. Classified information that helped Trump hidden for weeks or months. You used your position as intelligence chairman not to protect intelligence, but to weaponize it, to selectively leak classified information for political purposes while hiding exculpatory evidence. That is not oversight, that is abuse of power. Schiff had been leaning on "I dispute" the characterization throughout, but the evidence was too specific, too documented, too overwhelming. Let us talk about censorship, Tulsi said, about what happened when a story came out that you did not want Americans to see. Let us talk about October 2020. Let us talk about a laptop. October 14th, 2020, Tulsi began. 3 weeks before the presidential election, the New York Post publishes a story about Hunter Biden's laptop, emails showing business dealings with Ukraine and China, questions about Joe Biden's involvement concerning material about the candidate. She pulled up the New York Post front page on the screen, the headline visible, the story that would become one of the most censored stories in American journalism history. October 19th, 2020, 5 days after the story breaks, you go on CNN. Let me show you what you said. Video played. Schiff on CNN with Wolf Blitzer. His voice filled the hearing room. We know that this whole smear on Joe Biden comes from the Kremlin. That has been clear for well over a year now. Clearly, the origins of this whole smear are from the Kremlin, and the president is only too happy to have Kremlin help in amplifying it. Different clip, same day. Schiff on MSNBC. This is clearly Russian disinformation. It is the same playbook they used in 2016. The clips ended. Schiff's definitive statements hanging in the air. Clearly, Russian disinformation comes from the Kremlin, no hedging, no possibly or appears to be, definitive statements from the chairman of the Intelligence Committee. Senator, Tulsi said quietly, when you said that, when you went on national television and told America the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, did you know the FBI had already authenticated that laptop? Schiff replied, I was expressing my professional opinion based on. That is not what I asked. Did you know the FBI had the laptop and had verified it was genuine? I wasn't briefed on. You weren't briefed? You are the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. The FBI has a laptop with potential counterintelligence implications involving a presidential candidate's family, and you are telling this committee you weren't briefed? She pulled out an FBI timeline. Let me help you. December 2019. FBI takes possession of Hunter Biden's laptop from a computer repair shop. December 2019 to October 2020. FBI analyzes the laptop, verifies authenticity, confirms emails are genuine. October 2020. New York Post story breaks. At that point, FBI had been verifying the laptop for 10 months, and you are on the Intelligence Committee with oversight of the FBI. And you are telling us you knew nothing? Schiff tried another angle. The intelligence community assessed. No. Stop right there. The intelligence community never assessed the laptop. You are thinking of something else. Let me be very specific about the timeline. Timeline on screen. October 14th. Post story breaks. October 14th to 19th. Twitter locks post's account. Facebook throttles story. Impossible to share. October 19th. You go on CNN and call it Russian disinformation. October 19th evening. Former intelligence officials begin drafting a letter. October 19th. That letter gets circulated. October 19th. Letter released publicly. Has all the hallmarks of a Russian information operation. She looked at him. All in one day. The Post story breaks on the 14th. 5 days later, suddenly there is a letter from 51 intelligence officials. That does not happen organically. That is coordinated, and multiple sources say you were involved in coordinating it. True? Schiff replied, I had no role. Multiple former officials have said you helped coordinate the letter. That you or your staff reached out to former intelligence officials and asked them to sign. They said you used your position as intelligence chairman to give the letter credibility, true or false. I dispute that characterization. It is a simple question. Did you or your staff contact former intelligence officials about signing that letter? Yes or no? Schiff would not answer directly, tried various deflections, but his refusal to give a straight answer was more damning than a confession. Tulsi moved on. Let us talk about what that letter actually said and what those 51 officials knew when they signed it. She read from the letter. We want to emphasize that we do not know if the emails are genuine or not. We do not have evidence of Russian involvement, but our experience makes us deeply suspicious. In other words, we have no evidence, but we are going to say it anyway. Want to know something interesting? In the years since, at least 15 of those signatories have admitted they never saw the laptop, never saw the emails, never reviewed any evidence, just signed because people they trusted asked them to. Signed a letter saying something might be Russian disinformation without seeing any evidence it was. She pulled out recent interviews, former officials admitting they signed based on trust, not evidence. John Cipher, former CIA officer, admitted, I never saw the laptop. David Buckley, former IG for CIA, I did not review it. Multiple others, same admission. They signed a letter impacting a presidential election without reviewing evidence. But you went further than the letter. The letter at least admitted, we do not have evidence. You went on CNN and said definitively it was Russian disinformation. You said it clearly came from the Kremlin. You stated it as fact. Based on what evidence? Schiff had no good answer. Tried to talk about Russian playbooks and tactics and patterns, but never could point to actual evidence that this specific laptop story was Russian disinformation. Let me tell you what the evidence actually showed, Tulsi said. FBI had verified the laptop was real. Multiple intelligence officials said later it had all the hallmarks of being authentic, not Russian disinformation. Even the 51 signatories admitted they had no evidence it was fake. And yet you, with your position as intelligence chairman, went on television and lied to America 3 weeks before an election. You helped censor a true story about a presidential candidate because it was politically inconvenient. She paused. Let that sink in. And it worked. Twitter locked the New York Post account. Facebook made the story nearly unshareable. Major media outlets refused to cover it, all because intelligence officials said it looked like Russian disinformation. All because you went on CNN and said it was. A true story was suppressed. Americans couldn't share it, couldn't discuss it because you lied about it. That is not protecting national security, Senator. That is election interference, using your intelligence position to censor true information to help your preferred candidate. And you knew it was true when you called it disinformation. The FBI had told you, or if they hadn't told you, which seems impossible, then you were negligent in your oversight duties. Either you knew and lied, or you did not know and failed at your job. Which is it? The gallery was completely silent now. This was worse than anyone expected. Not just leaking, not just lying about Russia, but active censorship of true information using intelligence authority to interfere in an election. Let us talk about how you used your position more broadly, Tulsi said, about how you weaponized the Intelligence Committee against your political enemies, starting with your colleagues. Tulsi opened a new folder, thinner than the previous ones, but somehow more ominous. December 2019, she began, you released your impeachment report, included as appendices phone records, call logs, text message records. Whose records, Senator? Schiff knew where this was going, shifted in his seat. The committee had legal authority. I asked whose records, not whether you had authority. Whose phone records did you subpoena and publish? Long pause. Various individuals relevant to the inquiry. Specific names, please, for the record. Schiff sighed. Ranking Member Devin Nunes. His staffer, Derek Harvey. Journalist John Solomon. Rudy Giuliani's attorney. Several others. Let me make sure I understand. You subpoenaed the phone records of your Republican counterpart on the committee, Devin Nunes, a sitting member of Congress, your colleague, the ranking member who was supposed to provide oversight of your actions. You secretly subpoenaed his phone records, then you published them in an official congressional report. Is that correct? The impeachment inquiry required us to follow evidence wherever. Answer the question. Did you secretly subpoena and publish the phone records of a sitting member of Congress who was investigating your handling of the Russia probe? Yes or no? The committee voted. Party line vote. Democrats only. No Republicans supported it. You used your partisan majority to spy on your Republican colleague? Why? Tulsi didn't wait for an answer. Let me tell you why. Devin Nunes was investigating you. He was looking into your role in promoting the Steele dossier. He was asking questions about your leaks. He was exposing your lies about the Russia probe. So you used your committee authority to get his phone records, to see who he was talking to intimidate him. That is not oversight. That is retaliation. She pulled out legal analysis. Former Attorney General Michael Mukasey called what you did chilling. He said, spying on a congressional colleague violated separation of powers. Constitutional lawyers said it was abuse of power. Even some Democrats privately expressed concerns. But you did it anyway. And it wasn't just Nunes. You subpoenaed John Solomon, a journalist, a member of the press. You obtained his phone records to see who his sources were. You exposed his contacts. That is intimidation of journalism. That is attacking the free press for reporting stories you did not like. She read from First Amendment expert statements. Bruce Brown, Executive Director of Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press. This is a clear violation of press freedom. Using congressional authority to expose a journalist's sources has a chilling effect on journalism. Floyd Abrams, First Amendment attorney. Extremely troubling precedent. Congress shouldn't be investigating journalists. Multiple journalism organizations condemned what you did. But you weren't done. You also subpoenaed Rudy Giuliani's attorney, his lawyer. That is attorney-client privilege. You violated that to get communications between Giuliani and his legal counsel. What possible justification is there for that? Schiff tried to explain about Giuliani's role in Ukraine, but Tulsi cut through it. Giuliani wasn't your target. His attorney wasn't involved in Ukraine. You subpoenaed the attorney to get Giuliani's communications. You violated attorney-client privilege to spy on Trump's lawyer. That is weaponization of congressional authority. She stacked the evidence. Member of Congress, journalist, attorney, all had their private communications subpoenaed, all had their records published, all because they were connected to people or stories you wanted to suppress. You turned the Intelligence Committee into opposition research. You used subpoena power meant for national security oversight as a political weapon. And there is more. June 2023. The House of Representatives voted to censure you. Formal reprimand for what? She read the censure resolution. Whereas Adam Schiff abused his position as chairman of Intelligence Committee, whereas Schiff misrepresented facts and made false allegations, whereas Schiff's conduct has brought dishonor on the House of Representatives. Be it resolved that Representative Adam Schiff is hereby censured. The House censured you. Formal congressional punishment. Only 24 times in U.S. history has a member been censured. You are one of them. Know what is remarkable? 23 Democrats joined Republicans to censure you. Your own party members voted to formally reprimand you for misconduct. Why do you think they did that? Schiff claimed. It was partisan. Democrats voted for it. Your own party. They saw the evidence and voted to censure you. She pulled out one more document, then Speaker McCarthy's statement. Schiff lied to the American people. He used his position to promote false information. He abused his authority as chairman. He cannot be trusted with classified information. McCarthy stripped you from the Intelligence Committee, removed you, said you couldn't be trusted. That was 2023. Now you are in the Senate on the Intelligence Committee again, somehow. She looked at the committee chairman and other members, which brings me to my question for this committee. Not for Schiff. For all of you. If Speaker McCarthy said Schiff couldn't be trusted on the House Intelligence Committee, if the House censured him for misconduct, if his own party members voted to reprimand him, why is he trusted on the Senate Intelligence Committee? Why does he still have access to classified information? Powerful question. No one had an answer. Schiff sat there looking smaller by the minute. Let us talk about impeachment, Tulsi said. About the theater you orchestrated, the fabrications you made, the evidence you manipulated. Let us discuss both impeachments and the lies that drove them. Tulsi pulled out her thickest folder yet. Documentation from both impeachments, transcripts, videos, evidence of fabrications. You led 2 impeachment efforts against President Trump. First in 2019 over Ukraine, second in 2021 over January 6th. Both failed in the Senate. Both were based on lies and manipulations. Let us start with Ukraine. She projected the Trump-Zelensky call transcript on the screen, the actual words released by the Trump administration. July 25, 2019, phone call between President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky. You said this call was a quid pro quo, that Trump threatened to withhold aid unless Zelensky investigated Biden. Let me read the actual transcript. She read Trump's words. There is a lot of talk about Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution. It sounds horrible to me. Whatever you can do with the Attorney General would be great. Then discusses other matters. Then we will work on that. Good luck with everything. That is the call. Discussing corruption. Asking for cooperation through proper channels. Not threatening, not demanding, not withholding aid. Now, let me show you what you told America about that call. Video clip. Schiff's opening statement at the impeachment inquiry September 26, 2019. His voice dramatic, theatrical. This is the essence of what the president communicates. We have been very good to your country. Very good. No other country has done as much as we have. But you know what? I don't see much reciprocity here. I hear what you want. I have a favor I want from you, though, and I am going to say this only 7 times, so you better listen. Good. I want you to make up dirt on my political opponent. Lots of it. The clip ended, the room silent. That is what you said, Tulsi stated, in a congressional hearing opening statement. You made that up. Those words are not in the transcript. Trump never said, make up dirt. Never said 7 times. Never said, you better listen good. You fabricated it. You read fabricated dialogue into the congressional record under penalty of perjury. Schiff tried to defend, I was doing a parody. A parody? You were the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, presenting evidence in an impeachment inquiry. That is not the time for parody. And you never said it was parody. You said, this is the essence of what the president communicates. Essence means truth, means accurate, not parody. She pulled out the transcript of his statement. You said it was a parody only after you got caught. Only after Republicans pointed out you had made it up. Then you claimed it was parody. But in your actual statement you presented it as fact, as the essence of the call. You lied. You fabricated evidence in an impeachment hearing. That is not parody. That is fraud. And it worked. That is what millions of Americans heard. Your made-up version, not the actual transcript. Your fabrication became the narrative. Cable news played it endlessly. Democrats repeated it. Your lies became the basis for impeachment. She moved to the next evidence. But the call wasn't even a quid pro quo. President Zelensky said so multiple times on camera. Did you ever show Americans that? Video clip of Zelensky. Nobody pushed me. Another clip. There was no blackmail. Another. The aide wasn't mentioned at all during the call. The person who was supposedly pressured said there was no pressure. The person who was supposedly threatened said there was no threat. Ambassador Volker, who dealt with Ukraine policy, testified under oath, I never saw any evidence of quid pro quo. Multiple witnesses said the same. But you pushed impeachment anyway based on your fabricated version of the call. She pulled out the final vote. The Senate voted to acquit decisively because the evidence did not support your claims. The actual transcript contradicted your narrative. The principal witness contradicted you. But you got your political theater. You got your cable news appearances. You got to call Trump a criminal, even though the evidence never supported it. Then came January 6th. Tulsi continued. Your second impeachment. Let me show you what Trump actually said at the rally before the Capitol breach. Audio clip. Trump's actual words from the January 6th speech. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Peacefully and patriotically. Those were his words. Did you mention that in your impeachment presentation? Schiff. The context of his months of. Did you mention that he said peacefully and patriotically? Yes or no? The speech as a whole? Yes or no? Did you show the Senate the part where he said peacefully? Long pause. The managers showed extensive. That is a no. You edited it out. You showed clips of Trump saying, fight like hell, a phrase used by every politician, including Democrats. You showed clips that sounded aggressive, but you specifically omitted the part where he said peacefully. That is manipulation of evidence. That is presenting misleading information. She pulled up other Democrats using fight language, showed a compilation, fight for your rights, fight back, fight like hell. Multiple Democrats, including you, Senator, you have said fight in political speeches. Does that mean you are inciting violence? Or is it standard political rhetoric? But you edited Trump's speech to make it sound like incitement. You hid the exculpatory evidence. The word peacefully, you manipulated the record, and you got your second impeachment, which also failed in the Senate, because again, The evidence did not support your claims. She stacked both impeachment documents, two impeachments, both led by you, both based on misrepresentations. First one, you fabricated quotes, you hid evidence of no quid pro quo, you pushed a narrative contradicted by the principal witness. Second one, you edited out exculpatory language, you manipulated evidence, you presented misleading clips. Both failed, both were political theater. Both were you using impeachment, a constitutional remedy for high crimes, as a political weapon, not because of evidence, because of politics. You weaponized impeachment itself. The gallery was stunned. The systematic documentation of lies, fabrications, manipulations, all from one man. So we have established a pattern, Tulsi said, standing now. Military bearing, fully engaged. Russia hoax. You lied about evidence. FISA. You defended fraudulent surveillance. Leaking. You weaponized classified information. Censorship. You helped suppress true stories. Spying. You used committee power against political enemies. Impeachment. You fabricated and manipulated evidence. She picked up all the folders and stacked them. That is not public service, Senator. That is a criminal record. 6 different areas of abuse, all documented, all provable, all from you. Which brings me to my final question. Not about Russia, not about impeachment. A simple question about character. She looked directly at him. Have you ever told the truth? Tulsi stood, full military bearing, the combat veteran who had deployed to war zones, who had held classified clearances for 20 years, who had left her own party because she had seen corruption from inside. She was not asking anymore. She was prosecuting. Senator Schiff, let me summarize what we have established today. She counted on her fingers, each point a hammer blow. 1. You lied about having evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. Lied repeatedly on television, under oath, for 3 years. You had access to classified testimony, proving no collusion. 53 witnesses. Not one provided evidence. You lied anyway. 2. You defended a FISA warrant you knew was based on fabricated evidence. The Steele dossier was bar talk and speculation. The FBI's own source said so. The IG found 17 errors, all favoring surveillance. You defended it. You wrote a memo calling it proper. You lied about FISA abuse. 3. You leaked classified information to media for political purposes. 47 documented instances. Classified briefings, followed by calls to reporters, followed by stories. You selectively leaked information that fit your narrative. You hid exculpatory evidence. You damaged intelligence sources and methods. You betrayed your oath to protect classified information. 4. You called Hunter Biden's laptop Russian disinformation, knowing the FBI had verified it was real. You went on CNN 3 weeks before an election and lied to America. You helped censor a true story about a presidential candidate. You coordinated with 51 former officials to give your lie credibility. You interfered in an election, using intelligence as your weapon. 5. You used Intelligence Committee power to spy on political opponents. You subpoenaed your congressional colleagues' phone records. You subpoenaed a journalist to expose his sources. You subpoenaed an attorney to violate attorney-client privilege. You weaponized congressional authority. The House censured you. Your own party voted to reprimand you. 6. You led 2 impeachment efforts based on fabrications and manipulations. First impeachment, you made up quotes, presented them as fact, called it parody only after getting caught. Second impeachment, you edited out exculpatory evidence, you manipulated video, you presented misleading clips. Both impeachments failed because your evidence did not support your claims. She paused. Let all of that sink into the room. Every camera was on her. Every person in the gallery, silent. That is not a resume for public service, Senator. That is a criminal record. Her voice was steady, controlled, but carried the weight of moral authority. You sit here questioning my character, my loyalty, my judgment. You prepared questions about my fitness to lead intelligence agencies. You were ready to question whether I can be trusted. Let me tell you what I have done. I deployed to Iraq. I served in a medical unit. I saw casualties. I held the hands of dying soldiers. I kept secrets that protected American lives. I have held a top-secret clearance for over 20 years. Never once did I leak classified information. Never once did I lie under oath. Never once did I abuse my position. You have done all of those things repeatedly, systematically, on record, documented. I showed you the evidence today. Your own words condemning you. Reports from inspectors general proving you lied. Timelines showing you leaked. Videos showing you fabricated evidence. She stepped closer to the committee dais, voice rising now, not yelling but with a command tone. The voice of someone who had given orders in combat. So I have a question for you, Senator, and I want an answer. Not deflection, not legalistic parsing. An answer. She looked directly into his eyes. Have you ever told the truth? The room held its breath. Every camera zoomed in on Schiff's face. About anything? Tulsi continued. Because I have been here for 4 hours, I have asked you about Russia, about FISA, about leaking, about the laptop, about impeachment, and I haven't heard a single honest answer. Not about the evidence you claim to have. Not about the FISA warrant you defended. Not about the classified information that appeared in media after you called reporters. Not about calling a real laptop Russian disinformation. Not about fabricating quotes in impeachment. Not one honest answer. Just deflections. Just legalese. Just, I dispute the characterization. Just obfuscation. So I will ask again, and I want a yes or no answer. Have you ever told the truth? Silence. Crushing. Complete. Schiff looked at his lawyer, looked at his notes, looked anywhere but at Tulsi. 5 seconds. 10. 15. The cameras stayed on his face, watching him unable to answer, unable to defend, unable to say yes, because they had all heard the lies, unable to say no because that would be admission. I have always acted in accordance with my oath. Schiff finally started. Your oath? Tulsi's voice cut like a blade. Let us talk about oaths. You took an oath as Intelligence Committee Chairman to protect classified information. You leaked it 47 times. You violated that oath. You took an oath to be honest in congressional proceedings, to provide accurate information. You fabricated quotes in impeachment hearings. You presented them as fact. You violated that oath. You took an oath as a senator to support and defend the Constitution. You used the intelligence apparatus to spy on political opponents. You violated the First Amendment by going after journalists. You violated separation of powers by targeting congressional colleagues. You violated that oath. Her voice rose to command volume now, the volume used to give orders under fire. You have violated every oath you have taken, and now you sit here on this committee questioning whether I am fit to lead intelligence agencies. She turned to address the full committee, looking at each one. Mr. Chairman, members of this committee, I have a question for all of you. Not for Senator Schiff. For you. Senator Schiff has demonstrated a pattern of lying, leaking, and abusing power systematically over years. He has been censured by the House of Representatives. 23 Democrats joined Republicans to formally reprimand him. Speaker McCarthy stripped him from the Intelligence Committee, said he couldn't be trusted with classified information. That was 2023, and yet he sits here on this committee. The Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, with the nation's most sensitive secrets, questioning my fitness, my qualifications, my trustworthiness. She paused. Let that contradiction sit. My question is simple. If he wasn't fit to serve on the Intelligence Committee in the House, why is he fit to serve on the Intelligence Committee in the Senate? If he lied repeatedly about intelligence matters, why does he still have a security clearance? If he weaponized intelligence for political purposes, why is he still trusted with classified information? If he has been censured for misconduct, why is he sitting in judgment of others? The question hung in the air. No one had an answer, because there was no good answer. Why? Tulsi asked quietly. Is he still here? The gallery erupted. Veterans stood and started applauding. Intelligence professionals nodding. Conservative activists cheering. Even some of the press looked shocked at how completely Schiff had been dismantled. The chairman banged his gavel. Order? Order in this chamber? But the damage was done. The questions had been asked. The evidence presented. Adam Schiff exposed not by partisan attacks, but by his own documented record. Tulsi gathered her folders, stacked them precisely with military order. She looked at the chairman. I think we are done here, Mr. Chairman. Senator Schiff has asked his questions, I have answered them, and I have asked mine. She stood. The American people can judge who is fit for public service, who deserves to lead intelligence agencies, who can be trusted with the nation's secrets. I will wait outside for the committee's vote. She walked toward the exit. Didn't look back. Military bearing never wavering. The folders under her arm. The evidence that had destroyed Adam Schiff's credibility forever behind her. Schiff remained seated, looking small, exposed. Every defense stripped away. Every lie documented. Every abuse proven. The combat veteran had walked into a hostile hearing and walked out having prosecuted the prosecutor. The room slowly emptied. Media rushing out to file stories. Veterans congratulating each other. Intelligence professionals shaking their heads in amazement. Adam Schiff sat alone at the committee dais. The man who had led 2 impeachments, the man who had been on cable news hundreds of times, the man who positioned himself as the arbiter of truth and integrity, destroyed by simple questions and documented evidence. The warrior had beaten the opportunist, and everyone had watched it happen. The video went viral in minutes, not just clips, the whole hearing. 4 hours of systematic exposure. Tulsi Gabbard taking apart Adam Schiff's entire career with evidence, with documents, with his own words. Have you ever told the truth? Trended instantly. Within an hour, it was the #1 topic on every platform. Within 3 hours, it had been viewed 50 million times. By the end of the day, over 100 million people had seen at least part of the hearing. Conservative media was euphoric. Tulsi destroys Schiff. Combat vet exposes biggest liar in Congress. 4 hours of documented lies. Every outlet ran highlights. Every host played clips. Every commentary praised the systematic dismantling. But the mainstream media couldn't ignore it either. The evidence was too documented, too public, too viral. CNN, the network Schiff had leaked to for years, ran a segment. Contentious confirmation hearing raises questions about Schiff's statements. The host looked uncomfortable. They couldn't defend him. The evidence was on video. His own committee transcripts, his own TV appearances, all contradicting his current claims. MSNBC tried to focus on other aspects. Confirmation process becomes partisan battle. But even their panels admitted, some of the financial evidence regarding leaks is troubling. Translation: they couldn't defend the indefensible. The New York Times ran fact checks, not of Tulsi's claims, but of Schiff's statements over the years. They tried to be balanced, but the facts kept confirming Tulsi's accusations. Claim: Schiff had direct evidence of collusion. Status: Mueller found no evidence. Claim: FISA was properly obtained. Status: IG found 17 errors. Claim: Hunter laptop was Russian disinformation. Status: FBI had verified it was authentic. Schiff's office released a statement. Tried to spin. Senator Schiff stands by his record of defending national security and holding Trump accountable. Today's hearing was a partisan attack designed to distract from real issues. But the statement fell flat because Tulsi hadn't been partisan. She had been systematic. Evidence, documents, reports, timelines, his own words, no attacks, just questions he couldn't answer. The next day, the Intelligence Committee met in closed session to vote on Tulsi's nomination. Party line vote. Republicans supported her, Democrats opposed. But two moderate Democrats, seeing the viral devastation of Schiff, understanding their voters had watched it, voted yes. We have concerns about some past statements, but Lieutenant Colonel Gabbard has served honorably and deserves a vote from the full Senate. The nomination went to the Senate floor. Days of debate. Democrats tried to attack her record, but kept running into the same problem. She had just exposed their most prominent member as a serial liar. Their attacks lacked credibility. Final vote 52-48. Tulsi Gabbard confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, first woman to hold the position, first veteran, first former Democrat. President Trump's statement. Congratulations to Tulsi Gabbard, an American patriot and combat veteran, on her confirmation as DNI. Finally, we have someone who will end the weaponization of our intelligence agencies and restore integrity to the intelligence community. Her performance during the confirmation hearing showed why I nominated her. She stands up to liars. She presents facts. She serves America, not party. Congratulations. The political fallout for Schiff was immediate and severe. California newspapers, even liberal ones, ran editorials. Questions about Schiff's credibility. Did California's senator lie about intelligence? Calls for investigation into Schiff's committee conduct. Polling in California showed Schiff's approval rating dropped from 54% to 38% in 2 weeks. Among independents, 29%. Even among Democrats, only 51% approved. Republican challengers announced multiple ones, all using clips from the hearing. Adam Schiff lied to you for years about everything. Time for honest representation. Ethics complaints were filed. Multiple ones from conservative groups, from intelligence community members, from press freedom organizations about the journalist subpoenas. The Senate Ethics Committee had to open an investigation. Too many complaints, too much public pressure. More significantly, intelligence community reaction. Current and former intelligence officers celebrated privately. Anonymous sources told reporters, "Finally, someone said it. We have been screaming about his leaks for years. He damaged sources and methods for political gain. Justice was served today." Career intelligence professionals watched the hearing, saw Tulsi systematically prove that Schiff had betrayed intelligence principles, leaked for politics, lied about evidence, weaponized classified information, everything they had been complaining about internally for years, exposed publicly. The week after confirmation, Tulsi Gabbard was sworn in as Director of National Intelligence, ceremony at CIA headquarters, intelligence community leaders present. Tulsi in a dark suit, military medals visible on her lapel, hand on a Bible, taking the oath. "I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter. So help me God." After the oath, her first statement as DNI, "Intelligence serves America," Not politics, not parties, not personal ambitions. The weaponization ends today. The leaking ends today. The lying ends today. We protect sources, we protect methods, we protect Americans. That is our job, and we are going to do it. Thunderous applause from the intelligence community members present, people who had waited years for this, for someone who understood what intelligence was supposed to be. Meanwhile, across town, Adam Schiff was giving a defensive interview to a friendly MSNBC host, making excuses, playing victim. This was a partisan attack designed to distract from my important work holding Trump accountable. But even the friendly host pressed him. Senator, she presented specific evidence of contradictions between your statements and official reports. How do you explain that? Schiff fell back on his standard defenses. Context matters. The situation was complex. I stand by my record. But he looked weak, diminished. The confident cable news presence was gone, replaced by someone on defense, someone whose credibility was shattered. The split screen told the story. Tulsi being sworn in surrounded by cheering intelligence professionals, Schiff making excuses on cable news, looking defensive and small. The combat veteran who had served her country with honor, taking charge of America's intelligence apparatus, the career politician who had weaponized intelligence for politics, reduced to making excuses on sympathetic media. The warrior and the schemer. America had chosen, and the truth had won. The warrior met the schemer. Truth met deception. Service met corruption. And the receipts won. Tulsi Gabbard didn't destroy Adam Schiff with partisan attacks. She destroyed him with something he couldn't defend against. His own words, his own record, his own documented lies, evidence he couldn't deny, questions he couldn't answer, truth he couldn't escape. For years, Adam Schiff misled America. He claimed he had evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. He didn't. He defended a FISA warrant based on fabricated intelligence. He leaked classified information to CNN and MSNBC for political gain. He called the Hunter Biden laptop Russian disinformation. Knowing it was real, he weaponized his committee position to spy on political enemies. He led 2 impeachment efforts based on manipulated evidence. He violated every oath he took. For years he faced no consequences, protected by friendly media, shielded by his party, celebrated as a hero of the resistance, until a combat veteran who had seen corruption from inside the Democratic Party decided to expose it all. This isn't about Republican versus Democrat. Tulsi was a Democrat. She ran for president as a Democrat. She served in Congress as a Democrat. She saw the lies. She saw the weaponization. She saw the corruption. And she left because she couldn't be part of it anymore. That is what gives her authority. She is not an outside attacker. She is an insider whistleblower. She was there. She saw it. And now she is exposing it. If you think lying under oath matters, share this story. If you think weaponizing intelligence agencies is wrong, share this story. If you think Adam Schiff should face consequences for his misrepresentations, share this story. If you believe in accountability for government corruption, share this story everywhere. Drop a fire reaction if you remember I have direct evidence. He didn't. Drop the American flag if you support Tulsi Gabbard cleaning up our intelligence agencies. Drop a scale if you think Schiff should be investigated for his leaks. If you respect veterans who tell the truth, no matter the cost. Share this with everyone you know. Tag your senators, tag your representatives. Make them answer. Do they stand with the truth? Or do they stand with Schiff's fabrications? Because if we let liars like Adam Schiff weaponize government, leak classified information, and face no consequences, they will keep doing it. They will keep lying. They will keep abusing power. They will keep serving themselves instead of America. Tulsi Gabbard showed it is possible to fight back with evidence, with courage, with truth. She walked into a hostile hearing designed to block her nomination, and she turned it into a prosecution of the prosecutor. She exposed the falsehoods. She presented the receipts. She asked the questions they couldn't answer, and she won. The warrior defeated the schemer. Make sure the deceptive face consequences. Share this story now, because some people abuse power and betray oaths, but some people stand up to them. Tulsi stood up. Now it is your turn. Share this story. Demand accountability. Support truth-tellers. Expose corruption. The warrior won today. Make sure truth wins.